Welcome to my 30 June video from the hustling, bustling Adelaide Airport. Well, let's look around. It's completely empty. Who would have ever thought? So we'll touch on that in a minute as to why I'm here and why it's so quiet. So my 30 June video is a summary of the last 12 months, but specifically the last 6 months where we've seen so much happen. So let's delve straight into it. What's been going on in the world and in Australia for the last 6 months? Obviously, coronavirus is the top topic on everyone's lips at the moment, and I think it will be for the next 6 to 12 months at least. But what else has happened? We're still seeing rioting, we're still seeing protesting in the US on the death of George Floyd. We had the bushfires at the start of the year that devastated so much land and so many lives, houses and animals were lost. The UK, after years of battles and negotiations between politicians, finally left the EU. We saw Russia and Saudi Arabia go into an oil battle, which for the first time in history, we saw oil go to a negative price. China, US, trade war, so much positive news, right? So what has this done to the markets? But we'll come to that. Let's talk about the coronavirus and what's been happening there. I think unless you've been living under a rock, you would have seen the impact both locally to your own area, globally and to the country from the impact of that. And as we look around in the Adelaide Airport, we can see a huge impact to travel and tourism. I was here yesterday to fly to Port Lincoln in South Australia, and there was more staff than there were passengers. Truly a bizarre feeling. So why have I brought us back to Adelaide Airport to film a 30 June video? Well, airports, as you can see, have been hit so hard thanks to the travel bans we're seeing globally and also nationally. Planes darted around this place, all parked up with nowhere to go. So what's that doing to businesses within the airports, but also businesses outside? There's no foot traffic. We look at Sydney airports and they had a 98% drop in foot traffic over the last few months. 98%, that's truly incredible. Yesterday, I would have seen maybe 20 people in the Adelaide Airport. It's just a bizarre feeling. But what does this also mean? The flow-on effects for tourism are huge. People can't move around, people can't get interstate, either for business or for pleasure. And that's having a real impact on our economy. But what else has the coronavirus done? It hasn't just impacted the Adelaide Airport. It's impacted so many lives, it's impacted so many businesses. We're looking at record unemployment rates. As a result, we're seeing government and fiscal stimulus rolled out ad nauseum. Is it working? Yeah, it is. Is it a long-term solution? Who will really know? From a business perspective, we're seeing so much merger and acquisition work. We're seeing companies going into administration, and we're seeing talks of companies being sold off and wound down. We only have to look at Virgin as an example of this, $7 billion in debt, and hopefully getting back in the skies. We need some competition in the travel space. With all this negative news, surely markets are down. Well, no. Let's have a look. The Nasdaq is at record highs. So what's driving tech stocks? Foot traffic. We only have to look at something like Amazon, which has seen incredible increases in foot traffic as an example of what's pushing that index up. The S&P 500, it's back to where it was in December 2019. The UK, the FTSE 100, well, now that's back to where it was in June 16 before it had a really prolonged period of growth and stability. And of course, the ASX 200, back to where we were in February 2019. Who would have thought? So where to from here? Kind of a crystal ball question, I know, but I have to look at it and I think we're due for another retraction. There's too much negative news on the horizon to not see us pull back a little bit from here. What's really creating the strength in the Australian market at the moment? So many questions, so many unanswered questions, but all we can think of are these two main points. Global interest rates are at record lows, Australian interest rates are at record lows, and the government and fiscal stimulus. Two huge measures that are driving, we think, the markets up. But there's also one third one, the fear of missing out. So many retail investors have been piling money into newly opened trading accounts to start buying and selling their stocks because they missed out on the last bull run. So where to from here? Where do the markets go? My view, a W-shaped recovery. We've seen the big drop off. We've seen the fastest bull recovery in history. My feeling is we'll start to see it come back a little bit. As government stimulus unwinds, I feel we'll go into a period of a flat line, range trading, almost going nowhere, kind of like this carousel. So now let's talk about 30 June strategies. But let me start with this. This is a general advice warning. It's not specific to your situation. Please do reach out to us so that we can go through your situation personally, one-on-one. So 3 main topics that we want to talk about. Number 1 is look at the capacity to make a tax-deductible contribution into super before 30 June. The second is for those who are drawing an account-based pension. Ensure you have paid yourself the minimum pension, but also remember the government has reduced the minimum pensions, so factor that in as well. And thirdly, look at your capital gains tax position. If you've triggered a capital gain throughout the year, look at opportunities, if possible, to sell down capital losses to offset that gain. Now, as we take off into the next financial year, let's hope that it's a positive year and a year of growth. Thank you so much and see you next year.